Sorry. Just hold it up so I can see it. Thanks. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about psychopathic disorders. And this is something that's really relevant in today's society, looking at, of course, the crime as a whole. There's a lot of people that come off as having no feelings, and today I'm going to teach you how to evaluate these individuals for yourself and be able to read through them. I'm also going to go over the disorder and try to explain it to you, better understanding. According to research, psychopaths cannot really be understood. It's very hard to understand them because they're born usually with a brain dysfunction. It's usually the frontal lobe, which really hinges on them from feeling anything, any empathy towards individuals. So therefore they make a lot of unwise decisions. They do a lot of things that are morally incorrect. And a lot of times they don't even care about rules or regulations. They totally just do their own thing. As long as it benefits them, they don't mind if they're hurting anybody else in the process. According to CassioPeano.com, which is a psychological research, it's a research website, they're considered to be unstoppable and untreatable predators. There's been a lot of research along the way to see whether these individuals can be treated with medication, and it is found that this is not the case. They're born with the disorder, it's usually genetic, and regardless if they go through therapy, if they go through psychological studies, even if they go be put in a prison because of their bad judgments and their bad decisions, they, again, won't be able to change. Something that they're just going to continue living with all their life. They're considered to be detached, fearless, and they also have a possibly dissociated state, revealing a low state autonomic nervous system and lack of anxiety. A lot of times they're also very antisocial, and they tend to stay by themselves a lot. So obviously it's kind of clear to what motivates them. They really feel for themselves, and they're very narcissistic. They think they are the only ones that matter, and they'll do whatever it takes as long as in the end they are the ones that are happy. They tend to operate with a grandiose demeanor, as I said, and an attitude of entitlement, and they never really have enough. They always are trying to aspire for more, and they really tend to be sadistic. They don't care about people's feelings. Fearlessness is probably the core characteristic of these people, and it's helpful to think of them as high-speed vehicles with ineffective brakes. They don't think about what possibly their decisions will get them in the future. They just make them, they don't think of the consequences. There are 4 types of psychopaths, which I'm going to go over, and hopefully by the end of this lecture you will be able to evaluate people for yourself, because a lot of times it's very hard to determine whether someone does fall in this category, because they hide it very well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the primary psychopaths. They do not respond to punishment, apprehension, stress, or disapproval. These are the most dangerous kind. These are the ones with really no empathy at all. They cannot help their impulses. They do whatever is on their mind. They don't think of the consequences, and they act right away. They're not always conscious either of what they're doing. Sometimes they just do it, without even caring what's going to happen. And also, words do not mean much to them, which is why sometimes they lie a lot. They actually have a reputation for lying. A lot of people, I'm sure in here, have heard of a lot of murder cases where there's ample evidence that is provided, and yet the offender, who is later deemed guilty, continues to deny it, even if there were multiple people that saw this person there at the crime scene. This, again, is a primary psychopath who is not even aware he's lying. To him, words mean nothing. It's just, he has such a grandiose personality, he thinks he can fool anybody no matter what he says. There are other psychopaths too, obviously secondary psychopaths, and these are risk takers. But they're also more stress reactive warriors and guilt prone, so they're not as bad and as dangerous. They do have stress, so they do feel guilt ultimately, but again, they're very impulsive, so they don't often look at consequences, but they're not fully psychopathic. They do feel some empathy, and they do have the ability to form some relationship with their victims. They're considered daring, adventurous, unconventional people, and they began playing by their own rules early in life. So ever since they were little, they're the ones in school who didn't care about authority figures, who made up their own rules, and pretty much made their own life plan. And they live at risk because they lure to temptation. So whatever they feel like doing again, they're going to do it no matter what is deemed inappropriate. The next type of psychopaths that I'm going to go over are called distempered psychopaths. And they're the kind that seem to fly into rage or frenzy more easily and more often than other subtypes. They usually do whatever's on their mind. They actually have like a strong urge to do drugs, for example. A lot of them do engage in alcoholic disorders. So they tend to be more towards the addictive type. So it's something, again, in the frontal lobe of the brain which allows them to be more prone to these type of things. And once they're on drugs, for example, it's going to enhance their narcissism and their psychopathic behavior more because they're not going to be clear as to what's going on and what they're doing. So that's why a lot of crimes do take place. There's also a linkage between drug use and crimes just because of this right here. And the last type that I'm going to go over are considered distempered psychopaths. And these are the type that, charismatic psychopaths, sorry. These are the type that seem very friendly, they're very social, and they're the hardest to detect. There's a lot of people that fall in this category, and you would not even know that they're considered psychopaths. They're very narcissistic. They think that they're the best. A lot of times they're also very good looking, so they come across as charismatic, like a lot of women would like them, for example. There's a lot of women who get in relationships with these kind of people because they believe what they say, they come off as charming, and then again they end up getting hurt just because a person like this will be very narcissistic and would think he is always right. So those are a little background on the disorders, so hopefully you yourself can detect them later on in life. The most important concept to remember about psychopaths is they do lie a lot. So that is something you always have to remember, is if you notice someone who consistently lies, even about something obvious, it's very clear that they're in that category. So in conclusion, psychopaths are a disorder that really can't be prevented. So you have to be very careful, and the best thing to do is avoid them at all costs. It's better than being hurt. So just look for the qualities that I, again, have discussed. Thank you.